Hello everyone, it's Lisa, your instructor for Web Design Online, and I'm here today to quickly present to you week 5 activities. And this is the week that we will begin work on your term project, which is the project you'll be working on from now until the end of the semester. Hopefully applying all the things you've learned so far through watching the videos, reading the chapters, and practicing with the Dreamweaver sessions. So let me jump in here and we will go over the week 5 activities here. So jump in here. And here we are at week 5. And as mentioned here, I have for number 1, your Project 1 Introduction to Research and Topics Explained. So you'll need to go into that assignment and read up on what the project entails. Then the lecture that I'm doing here for you today, which I'm trying to make quick so it doesn't take too long to process. Your lynda.com exercises, and then your vocabulary quiz for this semester will open today, and it's an open book quiz, and you will have 2 weeks in which to finish that. So I'm giving you all spring break if you want to work on it during spring break, and then you'll have the following week after spring break to work on that as well. So okay, let's dive in here. Okay, so for the progress report for this week, what you're going to do is you're going to read through this assignment, and basically what you're going to do here is you're going to design a 5 to 10, minimum 5-page website. And since it's a semester term project, I gave you an option that if you wanted to design more pages, you can, up to 10 pages. And many students have done that in the past. So, but the minimum is 5. And you will be designing that complete site all on your own. You'll be doing all the HTML, all the CSS. You'll be locating all the content, all the written material. Of course, you can borrow images off the web. You can borrow text information off the web. But it is critical that you keep track of all your resources, of where you found images and where you found text content for this site, because you will have to put together a resources and citation page that will cite all of the sources you use to create your web pages. Okay, so keep in mind as you begin the project and start doing research that you're going to need to keep track of where you locate your resources. Okay, and I kind of say that here in the project. So the topic for this project is basically a famous person. You get to choose a famous person of your liking, and you're going to design an entire website about this person. And I gave you some options here. There's a PDF. If you click here for famous person list, this gives you a list. You can also go to this website down here for Time Magazine. It's called Time 100. And there are a whole bunch other options in here for famous people. So you can check out those as well. Okay, so you have some options. If you have someone else you'd like to work on, I would prefer that you at least check in with me as to who it is so that I can make notation of that. More than likely it's fine as long as it's a famous person. It should be fine for this project. So you'll be designing an introduction page, link pages, a navigation system, content information, and of course, as I mentioned, the resource and citation page. So it pretty much goes through here, the process you'll be going through, and a lot of the tutorials you've watched up till now have been going over and over this process that you're going to go through to design a website. Gathering the materials, organizing the content, developing some sort of visual site frame or wireframe that will give your client an idea of what you're about to sit down and develop in terms of a website, building Photoshop mock-ups in Photoshop, and then eventually taking all that graphic content over to Dreamweaver and putting together the HTML and CSS and making your web pages actually live. So that's the process. It's not an easy one. There's a lot of steps along the way, a lot of different softwares you're going to have your head around, which is why up till now, these first 4 weeks, you've been watching all these tutorials to try and get an understanding of, you know, the process that you're going to go through, the development process, creating the graphics in Photoshop, and then in turn going into Dreamweaver and putting it all together. So your report this week, you'll be writing mostly, and your writing material, your writing questions you'll be answering will be these 5 questions: who you're designing for, describe some information about your research, and begin to start conceptualizing how this website might come together. Think about colors and such, and then your rubric is listed here. Okay. So I have a couple samples of this project. I mean, I could go on for a half an hour and show you samples, which I usually do in a face-to-face class, but online I have to keep it to a couple of minutes. So I'm going to quickly show you a couple of samples here that students have done of this project in the past. It's usually been a pretty fun one. Here is a student project that was developed for a modern dance person, and her name is Martha Graham. Her navigation along the edge. She also has her footer navigation down here and her home page. And if you drill into this, she has a history page that tells you about the history of this individual. She has a page about the honors and accomplishments of the individual. She has a really nice gallery set up here of images. She even went ahead and went further in the class and added a video link. And then she has her, her links. And this is very similar to what you'll be creating for your bibliography and your resources page. You'll have all of the citations of all the imagery and all the text content that you used on the site. As you can kind of see, it was lengthy. She used a lot of resources. And then a contacts page to contact the web designer and whomever else. So this is one example. Thought was pretty good. I'll show you another one here. Let's see. Samples. Here's another one that was done by a student. This one was on composer Igor Stravinsky. Maybe you've heard of him. His home page and some of his interior pages. And just click through this. Now, the difference between this site here that you're looking at and this site here is really one of design. And I want to point one thing out here. When you're putting a website together, it's pretty important that your homepage have a unique look, so that people know they're on the homepage for one, and it is kind of like that landing page where everybody kind of lands first when they come to your site. So it's important that it's dynamic, visually interesting, and has a unique look of its own, which indeed this site does, because if you click in to the interior pages, she has this bar with a quote and a photo here, which changes up from her homepage. However, this site, looking at his homepage, it looks relatively exactly the same as these interior pages. So it's really hard to tell which page is home, which page is interior. It really doesn't change enough. So although this is a decent designed site, really what is missing here is that unique homepage. So, but still a decent project for this, a decent execution of this project, is what I should say. And here's his bibliography. All right, I have one more here that I'll show you real quick. Sam. Here you go. This is the home page, and you can kind of see this individual is doing a good job with changing up. So her home page she has this image and she has this title, The Real Jackie Chan, and so on. But when you go into the bibliography, that image changes, and so does the header information. So that's a great way to show contrast between the home page and the interior pages, is to have a header at the top that changes images. Okay, and then she had a gallery here, and her links. These were her bibliography links. So that was a couple real quick examples of what you'll be doing for this project here. Now, the way it'll work is each week you'll be providing me with a progress report of your progress on the project. So this week your first step is to decide on a topic, do some research, and start your planning. So you'll be writing a report on that. And then we have, in addition to that, you have the lynda.com assignment for this week, which is you're moving to a new module this week. It's called Creating a First Website with Dreamweaver. And this module is much slower, for one, than that first module that you watched a couple weeks ago, where the trainer had gone too fast. And I agree, she did. But the reason I had you watch that compared to this one is the way she created her website. She actually went in and coded in all the HTML by hand, okay, from what I can remember. And then she used Dreamweaver to do a lot of her CSS, where with this set of tutorials here, this individual, first of all, goes a lot slower, and it's a lot easier to follow. And secondly, he uses Dreamweaver almost completely. He doesn't do too much hand coding at all. However, it is important for you to understand that if you did have to hand code some of this stuff, how would you do it? And how would you go about thinking about it and the process you'd take to do it in Dreamweaver? So that's the reason why I had you look at those first set of tutorials, is that she did a lot of the creating of the divs by hand and kind of, sectioning out the page at first in the planning process by hand, and then eventually coming, to a final with Dreamweaver, where with this one you start with Dreamweaver from the beginning. Once you get your assets finished in Photoshop, you begin with Dreamweaver, and you use all the tools from within Dreamweaver. So that was the difference between what you watched a couple weeks ago and this set of tutorials you're going to be watching this week. The other question that I had from a couple of students is they proceeded to start doing these tutorials and following along, and they were not able to find some of the feature sets that were called out in these tutorials, specifically the Spry feature set for creating navigation and such. So what I would like to recommend to everybody who is using the Creative Cloud, I think some of you or most of you purchased a subscription to the Creative Cloud. Well, when you did purchase a subscription to the Creative Cloud, you indeed got two versions of software. You got the Creative Cloud software, and then you also, if you wanted it, got CS6. So I'm just going to show you real quick how to actually download and use CS6 instead of the CC version of Dreamweaver, because the CC, which is the Creative Cloud version of Dreamweaver, has changed some, and you won't be able to follow these tutorials if you use the CC version. So what I've done here is I've logged in to my Creative Cloud right here. This is my login. And once you get logged into your Creative Cloud, you'll go to the downloads area, and that's where you'll download your software so that you'll have it locally on your machine. If you click on the Dreamweaver CC link here under the downloads, it'll bring you to the page where you can download Dreamweaver and through the Creative Cloud. Right here, where it says, oh my goodness, in this version, download, oh, this is it logged me out, I'm sorry. I have to log back in. I had it open for this demo, and it logged me out, so I have to. Okay, hard for me to talk and remember my password at the same time. Okay, sorry about that. I try to have all these windows open before I start the lecture, and sometimes if they're login windows, they log you out. So now I'm actually in the downloadable area for Dreamweaver CC. And if you notice down here, you have this little radio button. If you click it, you can pull down and you can download CS6. That's what I would recommend you do, is to download CS6. Do not use Dreamweaver CC for this class, because all the tutorials on Linda and all of my lectures are all illustrated in Dreamweaver CS6. Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody understood that. And that's really a very quick overview of this week and the activities. The only other thing I missed to tell you here was to get access to the vocabulary quiz. I'm going to go ahead and show the link right now. Okay. You'll have a link over here in your links to the left called WD Vocabulary Quiz. You go ahead and click that, and it'll take you into the quiz here. And once you go into the quiz, I'll go ahead and hit continue here. The one thing about the quiz is every person that logs into the quiz gets a different quiz. It pulls from a whole series of questions that I have in there. So even though I'm showing you the quiz, it's not the actual quiz you'll probably get. It's just a version I'm getting. But the way to take this quiz is you just pretty much follow along and answer, save your answers and such. Now you have 2 weeks to take this quiz, so it may take you a couple of sessions to get through it. It's only 25 questions, but it might take you a couple of sessions since it's open book. As you're working on it progressively, you want to save all answers, okay? Do not press the Save and Submit button until you're ready to send it to me for grading. Okay, that's very, very important. So if you end up taking this quiz in several sessions, for each session you want to hit these Save Answers and the Save All Answers buttons, okay? But don't hit the Save and Submit button until you're ready to send me the quiz for grading. Okay, so up here, I believe that's basically all I wanted to say about this. So I'm just going to close this window because I didn't really take it, and I'm going to leave this page because I didn't really take the quiz. But that's basically what you do. And it tells you here the test is due on March 23rd. That's Sunday, March 23rd by midnight. You need to turn the quiz in. Okay? And you just hit the continue button and it'll give you a quiz. All right? So that's about it. That's all I have. So I guess until next time, have a great spring break, and we'll see you not next week, but the week after.